COVID-19 has hit American Indian and Alaska Native communities particularly hard. Native Americans in New Mexico have an infection rate 5 times the state average. In Wyoming, it's 10 times. The Navajo Nation has the highest rate in the country. The U.S. government's failure to support tribes during the pandemic has caused some Native leaders to wonder whether it's time that tribal nations file a breach of trust case against the United States for violation of treaty rights.
Almost 4% of the American Indian population doesn't have running or clean water. 31% of homes have some kind of sanitation infrastructure problem. So clean water and overcrowded situations, it's a tinderbox for this particular endemic. President Sharp knows exactly what's happening in Indian country because this country hasn't properly honored its treaty and trust obligations.
What can the U.S. do to mitigate the crisis and meet its obligations? 1. Get the money owed to tribes out now when they need it most.
Tribal governments don't get money from property taxes or income taxes like state and federal governments do. Most of the revenue that flows into the coffers of a tribal government comes from tribal businesses. And guess what? They're all closed right now because of the pandemic.
2. Fund the Indian Health Service System that provides healthcare to Native communities.
The need to deliver healthcare in Indian country in normal times is about $34 billion a year. Congress appropriates $6 billion a year.
3. Fund infrastructure.
During the pandemic, it's important to be able to get around on the reservation, whether it be emergency services equipment or families going to the medical facility that might be hours away. Of the almost 14,000 miles of roads in Indian country that are owned by tribes, 93% of them are unpaved.
And finally, honor the treaties by respecting tribal sovereignty and the government-to-government relationship.
Tribes need to be allowed more flexibility to be able to use their funding dollars in a way that's appropriate for their community. That's tribal sovereignty. This is a trust and treaty obligation.
Tribes are doing what they can to counter the health and economic crises. Will the federal government support them or continue its legacy of budget cuts, neglect, and stolen sovereignty? Share this video if you think Congress should start living up to its promises to Indian country.